diving in, just by way of introduction, just share with us just who Link Blevin is, real quick.
Sure. Well, I grew up in New Mexico. Met my wife at college at Lubbock Christian University. Work as a counselor, um, mental health counselor. I focus more with trauma. I also work as a crisis team counselor with crisis team. We work with the Lubbock Police Department here in Lubbock, Texas, um, and so doing that work, do that on the side as well. So got my master's in counseling, got licensed here in the state of Texas. And so it's kind of who I am, I guess.
Cool. Cool. Well, thank you. And thanks again for doing this, honoring this time, and hopefully it's helpful for you. And we'll unpack some
Yes,
things.
sir. Definitely.
What were your initial thoughts about today's coaching conversation?
Yeah. So I've been really trying to figure out, I guess what to even talk about or what to address. But I guess my initial thoughts, I always like that. I'm intrigued by it. I view it as kind of being alongside a journey, and uh, and so being able to just be able to talk about life and in a setting that is secure and safe, and I recognize it's being recorded. But yeah, just I don't know. I'm excited about it, and kind of curious to see what happens.
Cool. I like the way you framed being alongside or even coming alongside on the journey. And both of our backgrounds, your background, your occupation, a lot of times that journey is looking back on a lot of that experience.
Mm-hmm.
Coaching, we try to posture ourselves of what is it that you want? What are those dreams, fears in the future that seem unrealized? With that, so we'll go maybe 45, 50 minutes or kind of whenever you feel like you've got an aha moment. What would make our time extraordinary if you were to walk away from this conversation?
Yeah, Lance, I appreciate that question. I it's interesting being on this side of this, because working as a counselor, that's kind of one of my questions, for my clients is like, hey, what is it? It's kind of like more like, what would you like for us to be focusing on, but what would you hope to get out of this? And now I'm realizing how threatening a question that is, because I've been trying to, like, for about the last hour and a half, I'm like, okay, I got this coaching session. I need to really figure out. I have like 5 things basically like flying around my brain. And it's like, okay, well, and to be honest, like some of those, I'm like, okay, well, this is gonna be recorded. If my like employer saw this, or that I could, potentially not like lose my job. There's
Right,
nothing,
right.
but
Yeah.
it's more along the lines of, man, I have some dreams I want to see kind of actualize at some point. But so just like, well, do I verbalize that? Because then it's like, oh, so you don't want to work here? It's like, well, I didn't say that. I just, you know. So, man, I'm going to be honest. I'm still, I guess, wrestling a little bit as far as honest. I mean, for this being extraordinary, I'm just excited to just get to share maybe where I'm at and where kind of getting to be on this side of the hot seat, I guess, or in the hot seat.
Fair enough. And as people, jump around YouTube or social media and find this, we may or may not edit out, as I kind of expressed to you, like
Sure.
you want to go in a certain direction, by all means, go there.
Yeah.
If it's helpful, and we'll edit as needed. Um, what is it? What is it you want to create?
Okay. Um, so, so are you asking, I guess, like a life goal, or when you say create, I'm just kind of curious what you mean by that.
Well, you briefly mentioned there's 5 things, kind of last
Right.
hour you were mentally thinking about. if you were to think on those 5 things, and or even something else that comes to mind, what is it that you want to create?
Okay. So, so I'm going to go with this one, because this is the big one, so I do have a dream for ministry, and you don't have to worry about editing any of this out, because my employer knows that, my boss knows that, now ideally it'd be really cool if eventually, if that was some kind of getting back into ministry full time. This is kind of more like maybe it'd start, like a part-time thing or something like that. But similar to what you allowed me to be a part of with the discipleship meetings that you were doing with Texoma. This is kind of more like creating a ministry where it's equipping churches for basically like counseling, just kind of like a nuts and bolts kind of approach to just helping members be able to minister to one another, and to kind of be able to create something that highlights, brings dignity to Christ, that highlights the power of the gospel in Christ-centered conversations, and kind of utilizing that, capitalizing on that for growth, or for members to be able to go deeper in their conversations with one another than the shallow, hey, weather, kids sports, the typical Sunday, morning passing by one another type conversations. So if this meeting was extraordinary, maybe it would help me actually, I guess, this has been something, honestly, I've been sitting on for probably 4 years. And I've always just kind of been like, it's not ready. It's not time. And there's a perfection side here that's really probably present as well, that it's got to be this perfect thing, or else, which now I even hear myself say that's kind of foolish, but.
Okay. What else comes to mind?
With that, or are you saying other things?
Well, if we'll just stay with that one
Mm-hmm.
thing, since you kind of identified the one thing.
Yeah.
As you're unpacking that thought, what else is just kind of floating around right now?
Well, I'm noticing just in this moment that there's also that so there's a perfection side, but I don't know if that's really honest, or if that's completely the full picture. There's also the fear side of that. If I were to actually step out and try this and fail, or even just try, basically fear of rejection, of if I were to do this, but people were like, that's not what we want, or right. Then it's like, man, I've been spending 4 years, I guess, of my life kind of brainstorming and rethinking and re-editing and all this stuff, negotiating for, I don't know, for what? Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I guess there's a fear there too. Maybe it's not perfection as much as it's because it's been 4 years. There's probably more of like, I'd be afraid of, well, would that mean I'm irrelevant, or that, I'm just like way out there and my ideas or.
Okay. What in 3 years from now, so that's June 2023,
Right.
You pick up the phone and you describe to me, Lance, holy cow, you wouldn't believe what I've been up to.
Okay.
What is it that you've done
in
those 3 years?
So what immediately came to mind was this idea of, of seeing this, helping equip congregations for ministry. I don't have a good idea what that would look like. but it would be kind of like, this is what I'm doing. Like I'm, I guess part of what it looked like is probably like, going to different churches or weekend workshops or things like that, so whether I was still employed at the same place or if this was a full time, this is my just fully devoted to this. But I guess I would see myself doing that, or I would be, hopefully that's what I would be relaying back to you. Since my kids would then be 14, 12, good grief, 7 and 5, which it sounds weird.
Absolutely. What would be the story if you're actually putting yourself 3 years from now? How would you describe it as a present tense story?
Okay. I'm not necessarily sure. I guess it would be that I am trying to stick with present tense, that I am working with churches. I'm working with, I don't know if that's necessarily what you're looking for. I'm working with churches. I'm working with organizations to help just equip and enhance people's ability, members' ability to be able to communicate, be able to be present, really be present with one another in a deeper, more meaningful way.
Okay.
Does that kind of answer it? Or, I mean,
What does it sound like as it rolls off to you?
well, I mean, I'm noticing, I'm excited talking about it. I'm excited thinking about that, or visualizing that. I don't know if I'm really putting that visualization into good words or to language. Because I guess I would be, I would be, I would hope what I would be seeing myself doing is, whether that's going to all these different types of big events and having a table or a booth or having all that stuff. I'm not as intrigued about that idea, to be honest, like, creating all of that, or I don't like the idea of the promotion side of it, I guess, of having to promote yourself. But the idea of just being in groups with people and really, kind of more interactive experiences, not lecturing, speaking a little bit, but more just, hey, here's how we can be together. Here's what this looks like. Here's how you can really help, carry one another's burdens in a way. Here's how you can kind of live Christ, how you can, basically, it would be offering hope, help, and healing through Christ-centered conversations. That's would be kind of like the tagline, I guess, is, but equipping churches to be more present with one another.
What is the hesitation about?
Because like I said earlier, I think the hesitation really is this, would churches even be interested in that? Would churches be interested? Which I think, I mean, it sounds like it'd be something that they would be. So I guess the flip side of that coin is, could I really pull it off? Like, am I the right do I have what it takes to actually do that? And that's probably where hesitation is like, like I said earlier, like, what if, when it actually comes to like rubber meeting the road, what if I'm not, what if I'm not enough, or I'm not that guy that to do that?
What if?
What if I'm not?
Yeah.
Or
yeah, what if you're not?
Well, I mean, honestly, just even think about that, it doesn't really hurt my feelings that much. I'm like, well, I'm not that guy. It's just, okay, it didn't work. Cause I tend to, I mean, you can ask my wife, Monica, I'm always creating ideas. I'm always brainstorming things, I have ministry philosophies of all sorts of different things. It's kind of like, never have turned them in, never have, just kind of always kind of thinking or dreaming about what could be. But the reality is I'm 40 years old now, so I got to like at least jump on one of these, at least try it. So what if it didn't work? Then I guess it would mean it didn't work. I don't know if it really, which kind of saying that, right? Seeing that it's a why not, kind of thing.
What if you are the guy?
See, it's funny that actually feels more threatening.
Mm.
It's not the failure thing. It's like, oh no, what if? And then what immediately the word that popped up in my head was responsibility. I'd have to actually, I guess probably because I do kind of tend to dream a lot, I'd actually have to stick with one and be committed to it and have to really invest in it. And for some reason, not sure why, but for some reason that in and of itself kind of feels a little bit threatening to not be pigeonholed, not to be committed to, but to be responsible for. I guess that I would be responsible for something that could or could not succeed.
What are the benefits?
The benefits, I guess, would be, I feel like I would be using what I'm passionate about. I mean, I have a master's in counseling. I have a master's in Bible and ministry. I was a youth minister for 10 years. And I've always kind of had this mission, this nudge to be in ministry. Even if I'm not paid for it, I mean, I still, just with church and everything, I still teach quite a bit, still stay involved. I think it would be feeding. I mean, I would see that it would be something I'd be passionate about, even if it was just on, 2 or 3 weekends a year, kind of thing, nothing. I think I would still be like, this is something that I really enjoy doing.
Okay. What else?
In regards to what?
The benefits.
I think there'd be benefit for my family in the sense that, at least on my wife's side, she wouldn't hear about it all the time. She wouldn't have to keep being a sounding board for the same. I mean, like I said, it's been 4 years in the making. Like, for the same idea, it's like, I don't know how many times she's like, I've already told you this sounds good. Just either do it or don't, kind of thing. So I think there'd probably be benefit in just saying, I'm glad he's finally trying it, so I think that, honestly, I think that would be another benefit. I would hope that it would be benefiting churches. I would hope that it would actually be something that it would be presented in a way, or that the material would be where they could utilize it, to where it wouldn't just be something that sounds cool, but that they were actually doing it being able to implement it in some fashion.
Okay. If you were to remember this conversation for the rest of your life, what would you do with the rest of our time?
Man, I'm not really sure about that. I mean, I guess I would like to maybe still flesh us out a little bit, since I've already kind of gotten this far with it. And I guess maybe try. I mean, I don't know, and I'll be honest, I don't know in my mind like what else is there left to flesh out about it. But since I've already, bent your ear this long for it.
What in 4 years, right? This is a 4-year running dream.
Yeah,
Sounds
could be a nightmare.
sounds like you've thought through a lot. You possibly even have documents and a system,
Oh yeah,
how you would show up for the weekend, and what you would teach.
right. And that's the issue is I have probably I'm looking at over here toward my bookshelf, and good grief, I probably have 10 or 15 books, that are kind of similar in nature, from all these different pastors or leaders or authors that I'm still trying to condense down into some kind of weekend format, or or even a 13-week format. So I do have there's documents that have just been freshly printed that are already being redrafted, or kind of going back through going, okay, I don't like how that, so, but yes, there are some. It's not just all here. It's it's definitely there is physical evidence, but it's still not, I guess, complete or concise would probably be the right word.
What's missing between this moment and the first moment you show up to do this healing equipping ministry?
It's been something I've been praying about, and definitely thinking about. I think, some things are just, I mean, not having it completely fledged out to presentations, individualized presentation model, things like that. That's one component. It still needs, I feel like it still needs to be kind of more narrowed down, so it's not such a big, what it has become has kind of been like as if it was like not even a full-time job, but more of like a team approach, like a ministry. It could almost be its own LLC or whatever, as its own incorporation. And so trying to like and I think a lot of that is cutting out all the things I've included to just try to justify it as if it needed to be justified somehow. But so probably definitely some cleaning up, and so it's not, so I don't go to some leader or some church and hand them an 80-page document. It's like, oh my goodness. Instead, make it like a 3-page or something, just say, here's what it'd be, here's the focus of it, here's what it would look like, and go from there.
Okay. What else is missing from this moment to the first presentation?
Actually contacting, or like checking in with potential congregations for that would be interested in hiring me to do a weekend or weekends, or however that would look, presentations. That's definitely part of it. I think that still before then, it's still kind of cleaning it up and making it concise enough to be able to present, I guess. I don't know if that's what you're looking for.
In the next 24 hours, a minister elder calls you from Lubbock.
Right.
For such a time as this, Link, we need you to come and help us explore how to have Christ-centered conversations around hope and healing. Are you available in October?
Right. I would say yes, and then I would still get to working on those presentations.
Well, in this moment, what do you feel in your body as you process that?
um, what I feel actually is excitement at the idea of October. Yeah, I could totally. That's that's 4 months away. I can be more than ready by then to start doing this.
Okay. What else do you feel?
Um, I guess there's like some sort of like confusion or kind of like, why haven't I done it? Or why, if you really feel this way, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you even just pursuing this as something, even if it's just a Sunday morning at your own congregation or a Wednesday night thing, and not getting paid for it? What's holding you back from just saying, hey, let's go? So I guess there's kind of like some not discouragement, disappointment maybe, and not doing it, not just saying let's go.
What are you going to do with that disappointment?
Well, I tend to try to stuff all that down. Being a good therapist, I try to, suppression or no. I think that it definitely has I would say that it's there for a reason. I mean, it has a good argument. I mean, the argument's not that is saying that, disappointed in me, just disappointed in the non-action, I guess.
Okay. What are the barriers? I know we've talked
Mm-hmm.
about some of the barriers, but what are the barriers to this?
I mean, my own self-doubt for one. I think we've hit on that. I mean, I guess that's kind of the main one, is that just the fear that people wouldn't be interested, the fear that, not even talking about church leaders, that even just people would be like, what? Like, I don't want to, I don't want to learn that. I don't want to have it go to a series focused just on how can I do that, or, have to, how do you talk to one another, or, whatever, how do you become a counselor? That's, it's not what I'm into, or, I guess it's kind of like that of, is this something that people would actually buy into, or see the need for, or is it just some kind of thing that just kind of won't leave me alone? I guess, I mean, like, I don't, honestly, because I haven't really gotten that far with it, I can't think of any other barriers other than those. Then also just for myself, taking the time to finish everything, just to get it ready. Because most of the documents and all that stuff, those are already, man, at least over 2 years old. I mean, honestly, it's just been like right at this point, it's just been a redundant redaction process.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So fear is a real and or perceived barrier.
Right.
Let's suppose for a moment that you're on the receiving end of this ministry.
Okay.
What's the counsel you would share with someone to step over that fear?
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I was actually thinking of like something else. I was thinking of like someone being equipped and then going and doing it, and whoever that person was being affected by it. So it was like 3 steps down the road. If I was counseling someone who is telling me that really it's, I mean, it's the fear of not being good enough, the fear of that, you know, that it wouldn't be recepted or accepted. And so really, I mean, that rejection, I think what I would try to do is to confirm in them or affirm them that that regardless of what other people may think or do, if this is something that you're really bought into to the degree that you are, and it's something that you would like to at least try, just go ahead and go do it. Go ahead and just take that first step, and allow yourself the grace of that first step. Which um, which I don't know if I would keep myself as a counselor then. In the way that I was like, oh man, I knew you'd say that.
What's the disconnect for you between the not enough, the fear, stepping over this barrier?
Um, so I mean, I think that that's been with me for a while. I mean, that stuff that goes all the way back to childhood things, that to a degree that was, I was born with a birth defect that unfortunately, thankfully, when I had surgery when I was 8 months old, one, I survived surgery, which was back in 1980. That was a big deal, but there was some lifelong consequences just with it, um, and so something that even all the way through high school, uh, it was what people kind of, that's how they knew me. Um, and so I kind of always kind of had wrestled with knowing that I felt like I was different, I was less than, or I was kind of ostracized in some ways. Really just because of a medical condition. Of course, I didn't see it like that growing up. I saw it as, this is something I should have control and power over. Everyone else does, but I don't, and it separates me. And either having, you know, peers, you know, that were just, I mean, they were just kids. Kids can be cruel, and even having teachers in elementary school that were very cruel, as well. Just kind of, it was this different time back then, the 80s, but kind of in some ways it kind of I definitely learned that I was less than. I definitely learned that I was, you know, so it's an unfortunate saying, but that I was the weakest link, for lack of a better term, which isn't triggering now. Might have been back then, but um, and so I feel like that disconnect is always kind of that, don't put yourself in a situation that you could be ostracized, that you could be made fun of, that you could be that other people would affirm that you are less than. I think it doesn't make sense. It's kind of, you kind of have those defense mechanisms, I guess, you kind of create to try to deal with the world around you at a young age. And so in some ways, I think I still wrestle with that. I still really have to convince myself that no, this is worth stepping out and being vulnerable with, to, you know, even if, because honestly, if I was rejected and I was like, no, at this point in my life, I feel like I'm a competent therapist. I actually feel like I'm a good therapist, at least according to, the clients that stick with me and all that. So, and, and yeah, I mean, it doesn't really change anything. It
Right.
wouldn't change who I am or what I do.
What would be the power um, to see that story that you're connecting, right, and going back to the receiving end of a person at a church who doesn't feel their worth, their value. Um, what is the power in seeing the narrative from what you just shared 3 years from now when this ministry is in churches?
Um, so the power of seeing, I'm trying to understand what you meant by that. I think I know. Do you mind rephrasing that a little bit, or
Yeah,
um,
so if, right, going back to the receiving end of the receiving this ministry,
mhm.
um, what's the power of seeing yourself on the receiving end of this ministry as a 16-year-old, 18-year-old, um, 3 years from now?
Okay. As far as like, uh, so the power of it, I mean, if I'm thinking of that correctly, which is kind of thinking of who would be receiving it,
Right.
actually from someone, I guess, who got trained in it or whatever. Is that what you're saying? Like, something, is that the idea? Or,
Yeah.
um, so the goal would be that that person who is receiving it, um, that they would feel a deeper connection with the body of Christ, that they would feel a deeper connection with community, that, which in some ways is kind of very interesting, because I don't know if I've ever really put that together, of that there's this component that's a barrier for me, or the disconnect is maybe somehow, and I don't know if it is or not, but the goal of this whole thing is to make it easier for the one who's ostracized to be more in community. Could be.
Okay.
Haven't thought of it like that.
Okay. Just a quick check-in. We got a few minutes left.
Yeah.
If you were to get off this call, like right in this moment, what would you do in the next 24 hours?
Um, well, I think I would pull that document back out, and actually just say, okay, it's at least time to, you know, um, allow others the opportunity to either receive it or or not. um, I think, I mean, it would be kind of, like I said, making a little bit more concise, but honestly, it wouldn't be that much work to actually be able to send it to other people.
Okay. What else would you do in the next 24 hours?
Um, I mean, I think I would be praying about it. I would be, trying to just put, I guess, really just kind of put the finishing touches on it in a way. Um, and just allowing, I mean, just convincing myself it's all right to just, connect with a few other people and say, hey, let's set up a meeting and let's just talk about this. If this is even something that could be, they'd be interested in, even if it's just a Wednesday night or Sunday morning thing. And I've done a little bit of that already with one minister, but that was a while back, and I just kind of honestly got a positive reception to it. And then I just was like, it was almost like, okay, good. And then didn't really do anything. I was like, all right. So I don't feel like I'm just, going off in a completely different direction, but still it's kind of funny that I haven't really followed up on that.
when you bring your gift, your leadership, your counseling, your life to the world, um, what does that do in you?
It's energizing. It is. It's yeah, energizing. When I feel like I'm helping someone else. I mean, really, this all kind of started. What kind of started all this was doing a seminar one time on this helping hurting people, right? And it was like, man, this is kind of what I do, who I am. This is what's been a passion of mine for a while, um, and so thinking of it using when I feel like I'm able to use that or be able to use my strengths. That's what, whether that's in counseling, whether that's with the police department, wherever that might, or just doing presentations or whatever. It's energizing. It feels like, it feels like I'm being helpful. And that's kind of, I guess, one of my values or things I strive to do is I strive to help people.
If I was to call you in 3 years from now and I asked, how's the ministry? And you said, well, I'm 7 years into thinking about it.
Right. I wouldn't be happy. I would really, to be honest, I'd hope that would not be the case. I would hope that I at least would be able to say either, hey, it's something that, is I'm still doing, on the side or whatever the situation might be, or yeah, man, tried it, didn't really gather the steam I thought it would, or, or something. At least would like to be able to say I tried. If nothing else, said, hey, I tried it. I would really not want to be saying, well, it's like it's on page 212 or whatever. Yeah.
So jumping into it, we can go back to 3 years. How many churches do you want to be serving in this capacity? Serving and or have served total, right?
Oh, good grief. I don't know if I really even have a number for that. I guess my bar is set pretty low. I was like, if there's this one church that was interested in having if it was like a one time, just came in, did it, and no one else ever, like, hey, I at least did it, and get a $50 paycheck or something, and keep going. But so I don't know if I have that this would be across the board. We're meeting, it's 52 weeks in the year, so 52 different churches, or whatever. It's not necessarily, I guess it's not, I don't know if I really have like an idea of what that would be, or an expectation of what that would be.
So if I heard your dream correctly about this equipping ministry earlier in the conversation.
Okay, yeah, I got you now.
I didn't hear you say, well, in 3 years from now, I think I'm going to serve one church, right?
Yeah.
So go back
I guess putting a number on it is, that I guess was my sticking point. Cause then, I don't know. I was always that guy that's like, I don't like, they're not numbers or people kind of, type. That's probably the lazy side of me in youth ministry. It was like, how many did you have on Sunday morning? It's like, hey, we had what God gave us, kind of thing. So that might be my sticking point is numbers. So yeah, ideally, I think if this was something that was like that I was doing, and I guess like big goal, if it was something that I guess was sustainable, that it was like I guess a full-time job, then I would hope that I'd be serving more than one congregation one time kind of thing. I just don't know if I would have an idea of what I guess as far as like numbers or something like that, what that would look like. But I would probably be reaching out to more than just one church. I guess is the answer.
Okay. What's the, and I get the humor, but what is the humor about?
On what part of it? Because yeah, I usually
Just on,
mask it with
just
humor. So
on your sense of, I'm just going back to earlier, I sense this fear of hesitation
right.
to
Um,
speak it into existence.
well, I mean, honestly, part of the hesitation is the fact that I know that other people are going to see this, and so there is kind of like that. Be careful saying this would be a full-time dream, because if you get tagged in this on Facebook, your boss is going to immediately see it. And haven't, does it make sense? Is there some of that that's like, oh wait, I better be careful how I say that, because I want to make sure I keep job security at a time like this. um,
Well, let me ask you this then, because what you've described is a weekend type of format,
mhm,
just what we've talked about
right.
at this time. What is possible with your current job and this ministry?
Hmm. I mean, just that. I mean, my current job being 8 to 5, and doing this on the weekends, which is kind of, I mean, which would be honestly ideal, because my current job, there's a lot of stability and like insurance and all that stuff, that, I mean, and I also, what my current job allows me to do is to use my gifts and counsel, and to do it in a really, in a place I really love doing that. Plus, if this is on doing the weekend things, then this would be um, the other side of my gifts, which I believe is teaching and presenting and training other people. And so I always just want to be careful, because I mean, ideally, I was like, man, if this thing like really took off, then I could totally see it being, it was just that, like it would be 52 church, or 52 weekends. Probably not, but I'd probably have to take some Sabbath rest, but, and my family would probably say, no. But I mean, ideally, like, I'm just saying, like, big dream, I was like, I don't want to necessarily want to be careful about that, because I really do enjoy working where I work. So, so I'm not trying to find a job necessarily or anything like that. It's more of just, I think I would be enjoying it if I was, even if it was once a quarter or once a month, doing this with churches, and creating some kind of network like that.
What have you heard that has been helpful up to this point?
From our meeting today, or
Yeah.
I mean, so one thing that really stands out to me is, I guess, kind of connecting the dots, and for myself, of being able to connect the dots of maybe what the motivating factor to this. Also, it's been helpful to actually hear myself say, it doesn't really need much more planning or dreaming. It definitely doesn't need more dreaming. I mean, I've got help, hope, and healing through Christ-centered conversations already. I mean, I have that. I have kind of the model. I have the mission and the vision and all that stuff already there. It's just, okay, just finish putting it together, how it would look, and see what happens. See if some churches would be interested in bringing you in for a weekend. So that's been helpful. I mean, I think it's been helpful kind of hearing myself say, I could do this. And that I really wouldn't be all that concerned if people said no.
Mm.
So.
Okay. In a week's time.
Whew, 3 years was fun. Like, that gives me 3 years to. Why you gotta be throwing a week in here?
1 week now. 1 week. What are you gonna do?
So that's June 17th, I think. Yeah. I think between now and then, I at least want to contact, um, even if it's, I mean, just contact some ministers at my church, kind of finish it up to like try to see if I can just do a meeting with them and see if starting there, like if they would be receptive to that. Whether that'd be a weekend or a Wednesday night thing. So that's what I can see myself doing.
What if you, in a week, what if you just jump both feet in? And I'll use this word. What if in a week you were audacious with your ask? Who would you ask?
I mean, I think the answer is still kind of the same. I mean, I would start with them,
Okay.
Because in some ways that would afford me the ability to kind of work out any types of kinks there might be. I realize that only among their own people, and as a prophet without honor, but but sometimes it's those who know me before, because to be honest, there still is between now and then there's still some finishing up, and from the dreaming and having it written out to actually what that would look like. I would still have some work to do on that. It was a weekend thing to kind of flesh out.
So roughly these 2 or 3 people that you're talking about in a week's time,
mm-hmm.
What is it that you're asking them?
I guess just to just be sharing this idea with them and asking for a time to be able to do it. Asking for for them, because it's ministers that I respect and have known for years. Kind of asking for their kind of have them look at it as well, and what do they think about it, and what would they maybe. I'd value their opinion on it. What it but then if it was possible to try out.
Okay. When will you reach out via whatever communication that is for this meeting?
So I want to be able to at least have something to give them that isn't just a bunch of stuff. So I need to kind of fine tune that. But honestly, what I know myself, and so if I say, well, when I get that done, well, that's what I've been saying for a while now. So, so I would say, if not today, to at least shoot a text out to a few of them. Then tomorrow, try to see, okay, next week, can we set up a time to meet to talk about some ideas? So, because if I don't, then I won't. I kind of know that what will happen is a week will pass, or
what by what time tomorrow is this text going?
Oh man, that's awesome. Well, I know that my daughter has swimming at 11:40, so it's gonna have to be before then. So it's gonna have to be by 11 o'clock tomorrow, because I'm recognizing that I have meetings today. That's not for another hour. So, so I guess honestly, I could probably send this text out. It'd be easier to send this text out by 5 o'clock today before my next client.
That's an hour.
Well, but the reality is
that is audacious.
Well, we're talking like, are we? I mean, it's like, okay, within the next hour or within the next 18 hours, so or 16 or whatever that is. So it's like, at some point it's like, well, what does it? What does it matter? So I'd rather to go ahead and get it off my to-do list right now than wait. And because then I wouldn't want to be dreading or fretting about something as simple as just shooting out a text to a couple of friends.
Perfect. Just two more questions. I know there's clearly a lot of steps. Right now we're just talking the week, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the one thing other than texting these guys in the next hour that's currently missing?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they're really like other than what I've already shared. That I mean, there's definitely getting it to a more presentable.
Okay.
Just getting it more concise and having, I guess, having it more of a game plan. I tend to think too big, or I think it has to be all this stuff, when really it's just saying, hey, here's what I want to do. Here's what I think it looks like. What do you guys think it could look like? And what would that look like? It sounds.
So you and Monica catch up here in a little while after dinner, whenever the family time's over. What do you share with her about this conversation?
I say go to Facebook, and Lance is going to click on it. Or I think I share with her that, I mean, I think that she would appreciate the fact that I actually was willing to talk about it today, and didn't necessarily just come up with something else that was, oh, I got to be better at time management, or I got to be better at, and not that that's not needed, but I think she'd be like, good, I'm glad you finally talked to someone else. And, and not, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I think she'd be glad that I did that.
Cool. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you.
Dreams and desires, and you do have so much to offer, and just give counseling. So I look forward to the 3-year story.
Definitely. Well, I hope it's a good one. So, and I really appreciate you, and I appreciate your time, and just for allowing me to do this. This has been fun.
Absolutely. You may or may not get a text from me in 58 minutes, but
all right. Sounds good. Well, I'm gonna make sure I send that text out real quick. So.
All right. Blessings.
Awesome.
Thanks, Lane.
Hey, man. Appreciate it. Thank you, Lance.